As promised in the title, I want to give you 15 tips for the whole process from your home country airport to the quarantine place in Korea, what you should prepare, what you should bring, and how it all works. So I will let you know now in detail. I will not talk about the whole visa or university application process. So if you're interested in that, I'm sorry, but yeah, just leave a comment or a message and I will definitely do a video about it later. So let's start in your home country. The first thing you need to prepare is a negative PCR test result. It's absolutely necessary and you need to show them a lot in your home country during the flight and also once you arrived in Korea. So tip number 1 is kind of obvious, to be honest, but I say it nonetheless. Be careful about COVID-19. Of course, you should be careful anytime and you should wear a mask and keep your distance, but especially the few days or weeks before you leave the country are really important, because if this test result is positive, your whole plan is kind of fucked up. You can forget about all the bookings and reservations and you need to stay home. So I know, obvious, but nonetheless really helpful, so stay safe, guys. Tip number 2 is to print out the test result. Okay, for some of you that can be kind of obvious again, but for me personally it was not at all, because no one tells you that it's necessary to print it out, and in my home country all the PCR test results you get as a PDF via mail or as a download. So it was really good to know that you have to print it out. I brought it, luckily, because they ask for it so often and they keep it for some time. It would be really annoying to give them my phone the whole time. So print it out and bring it and keep it until you're in your quarantine place, because you have to show it quite often. Then you are finally at the airport. So you prepared everything, you're at the airport now, and the first thing you need to do there, wear a mask. So you have to wear a mask during the whole time, from the 1 second you enter the airport until you are in your quarantine place, except for drinking and eating, of course. So I highly recommend to you bring spare masks. Then you're finally in the airplane, you're so excited. Now finally your journey starts and there's just a 12-hour flight between you and your goal, South Korea. But it's a 12-hour flight, so you have to bring some entertainment. Of course, the airline offers you some stuff, but I usually can't sleep well at the airplane and I need my own personal stuff to be entertained. So I brought my Nintendo Switch, some games. I played Animal Crossing the whole time, I think. That was tip number 4, and tip number 5 is to bring a pen. Okay? Kind of obvious again. You usually bring a pen when you travel. Somewhere is a pen in your backpack or in your suitcase, but you should know where it is and you should keep it in reach, because the last 20 to 30 minutes of your flight you will get a lot of papers and forms you have to fill out. Also keep the address in Korea and your phone number, your contact person, all the data you need as a screenshot in your phone or as a note or print out or things like that, because the internet doesn't work and you need to fill it out in the forms. So prepare all this and then you're on the safe side for the whole flight, and then you can finally arrive in Korea. But, and actually there's a big but, because the second you will arrive in Korea, this is the second you get super stressed. Everything is so overwhelming, you are so excited, so many things happening in that moment. And the one thing that I got as a tip from a friend, which is tip number 6, use the restroom before you wait in all the lines. So I know their line looks so long, but it is long anyway. So it doesn't matter if you go to the restroom now or later, because later you won't have time and actually thought of that. So use the restroom, take a short sip of water and eat maybe a small snack while you're waiting, because things get overwhelming really quickly in that time. So yes, that was tip number 6. And then you're finally ready to wait in line. Awesome. Yes, it can happen that you have to wait a lot. I personally was really lucky because I arrived with a lot of Koreans, which then used other lines than me later. So, but I know from a lot of people here on YouTube or friends I have here who did the same thing in the last months, that they needed to wait super long. So yeah, be prepared for that. That's why tip number 6 is so important. And then yeah, wait in line. And the first stop you need to go through is the document screening. So they check your basic information, if you have all the necessary papers, and if you maybe have a quarantine exemption, because then you don't have to go through all the other stuff and you can go directly to passport control. But most of us won't be able to get a quarantine exemption right now in November 2021. You're just getting these exemptions for necessary health treatments as a businessman, or if you have Korean family. So those are kind of the most common cases, and none of you probably will be applicable for that. But yeah, wait in line, go through the document screening. It's quite easy. One tip number 7 I can give you here is to have something like a document organizer. I didn't have it. That's the only thing I didn't prepare. And afterwards, I would say this is a thing I would definitely bring, because I dropped my stuff like 3 or 4 times. Was super annoying for me, was super annoying for them. So bring something you can organize your documents in, or you can hold it together, because you're carrying a lot of stuff. Your carry-on suitcase, your backpack, your jacket, you have papers, you have your phone, you have your ticket, your passport, and it was super annoying. So that was tip number 7. Then you get categorized by your passport. So if you have a foreign passport, as me, you go through that lane. And if you have a Korean passport, you go through the other lane to the quarantine app station. There you have to download the quarantine app and go through the data with the person waiting there. So one tip I can give you here is tip number 8. Download the app in advance in your home country. You can save some time because you don't have to log into the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi is quite slow, so you have to wait a bit until it's downloaded. So do that in advance, and then you're on the safe side to go to the next station where they will call your Korean contact person. And this is actually really important because you have to prepare it quite well. This person needs to have a Korean phone number, should be able to speak Korean, and also has to answer 3 questions. Who you are, what are you gonna do in Korea, and especially where are you gonna stay for quarantine. Tip number 9 here is to make sure that this Korean contact person knows exactly when you will arrive. They should be available to answer their phone within maybe 2 hours after your arrival at Incheon Airport. Also, maybe keep an emergency phone number of someone else you know if this person, for whatever circumstances, is not available, so you don't have to wait. And also, if you don't know anyone, just ask your Airbnb host. Most of them are really helpful and are ready to answer the call, answer the 3 questions. They know exactly where you will stay. They can describe the address and things and the apartment. So be on the safe side. Prepare them, prepare yourself with some phone numbers of people you know here, and then go through that station quite quickly. The next stop is the visa check. So make sure that you printed out your visa. This is tip number 10. And then they just take a photo of you and take your fingerprints, and then you can straightly go to the next station, which is the passport control, as you have in almost every other country, I think. So they just check your identity, your passport, make sure that you're allowed to enter the country. And then you can finally get your luggage at this, what is it called? Like this circle thing that moves where all the suitcases are on. I think you know what I mean. So yeah, this thing. And take your suitcase, go to the toll declaration, where you have to tell them if you brought any like fresh meat or dairy and things like that. Make sure that you actually don't bring things like that, and just bring well-packed foods if you need to bring something. Yes, then you can take your suitcase and go to the next station. Here they will ask you 2 questions. First of all, where you want to go. So make sure that you have the Korean address in reach and also know the district you're going to. And secondly, what kind of transportation you want to use. You can choose between bus, minivan, and taxi. The bus is actually the cheapest option, but you have to carry your luggage the whole way from the airport to the bus station, to the test station, back to the bus station, and so on. And the bus actually leaves really irregularly, so I would have waited 3.5 hours, which would have been super annoying. So I asked for the other two options immediately. The minivan is like a bigger taxi, so more suitable for people who have a lot of luggage, and it's a bit more expensive. So I asked for option number 3, and option number 3 was actually perfect for me. So this is tip number 11. I chose a taxi. And my taxi experience was actually really awesome. You pay 60 euro, which are approximately 80,000 Korean won, so 80 US dollar, for the whole service from bringing you from the airport to the test station, and then the taxi driver waits at the test station, and then from the test station he brings you to your Airbnb place. So you don't have to care about your luggage at all, and he knows the way exactly. And my taxi driver, he was really helpful and kind. He tried to speak a bit of English, and it was actually like a small sightseeing tour through Seoul because the price is fixed. He was able to drive around a bit and show me some things I wanted to see before quarantine. And it was really, I don't know, awesome experience, and I would highly recommend you this. But before you go to the taxi and leave the airport, there are 2 more things you should do. One is tip number 12, exchange some money, because it's quite good to have some like emergency cash in your pocket. Of course, Korea is the country of no cash, so you can actually pay everything with your credit card. But what if your credit card doesn't work here? So you will be happy to have some cash. And I would also recommend you to do this in Korea, because in your home country, it's usually more expensive. And tip number 13, and this is actually the most important tip of the whole video, get a Korean phone number at the airport. It's really important because you need it for the test result, which you get via SMS, and you also get the calls from the public health center on this phone number, and you have to use a Korean phone number for any accounts you want to make for food delivery or groceries or things like that. So make sure that you order it in advance in your home country and then pick up the SIM card at the airport. Highly recommended. So now you're ready to leave the airport and go to the test station. The process at the test station is really similar to any other country, I think, because they just check your identity, ask you some questions, and you have to fill out some forms. Then you get tested, and then you can leave again, and the result you will get via SMS the next morning. And when you leave the test station, they give you a small tote bag. It's different in every district, but I think the things that are included are quite similar. It is some explanation papers, what you should do and what you shouldn't do during quarantine. You will get some garbage bags and some temperature measurement sticks. I don't know what they are called. You just put them in your mouth to measure your temperature, what you need for the quarantine app. And you will also get some sanitizer. So those are just necessary things you need during quarantine, and once you got this, you can leave. But tip number 14, make sure that you know either the address or the name or the phone number of the test station, because if you don't get your results the next day, you want to call them and ask for it, so make sure you know where you went to be tested. Yes, and that's it for the test station. Now you're ready to go to your booked accommodation. If you're having a long-term visa like me, you can choose between a government facility or an Airbnb. I personally booked an Airbnb because it's way cheaper than the government facility, and you're quite free to choose where you want to stay. When it comes to the government facility, you cannot choose at all, and it could be that you have a really awesome hotel room or a really shitty one. So I didn't want to risk that and booked an Airbnb. But there's one problem you will have with the quarantine Airbnb, and this is the whole topic of food and drinks. Because no one will bring you food automatically, and no one will prepare that in advance if you don't do it. So tip number 15, be well prepared in terms of food and beverages. So for example, you can ask your Airbnb host or a friend here in Korea to prepare that in advance before you arrive, or bring it to you once you arrived in your Airbnb. And if everything goes wrong or you don't have anyone who's able or willing to help you here, then use the website tracy.com. This is no advertisement. It's just the only website I found where we can order food and groceries without having a Korean credit card. Of course, there are some more like Gmarket or things like that, but they take a quite long time in advance to bring you the stuff. So yeah, Tracy was, I think, 1-day delivery was really good. So I highly recommend you to keep that in mind if you don't have a Korean credit card yet. And then you're officially in quarantine and not allowed to leave the house for some days. During the whole quarantine stay, you have to fill out a form in the quarantine app twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening. You have to answer some questions, which you see here, and you also have to measure your body temperature, that's why you need those, and type it into the app. Then you also have to answer some calls during those days from the public health center, asking you sometimes the same questions, sometimes other questions. They just want to make sure that you're sticking to the regulations and you're also doing okay in your quarantine. And 1 day before your quarantine ends, you have to make another COVID PCR test. For that reason, you're allowed to leave the apartment, take a taxi, and go to the test station again. And when you get your negative test result, you're allowed to leave this apartment on the 11th day of your quarantine at noon, I think, so 12 p.m. And then you're finally free. You can go out and explore the city, explore the country, the culture, the food. So yes, make the best out of your time here in Seoul in South Korea. And I really hope this video helped you a lot. If so, just leave a like and a comment and subscribe maybe for more videos about my experience here in Seoul. And thank you guys for watching and see you in the next video.
I scrolled down the Insta page, saw a picture that I didn't want to see. He had his hand around your waist and a smile on your face, like the way you look at me.